After having a couple of days to gather my thoughts around the Karl Anthony Towns deal, my perspective has changed a little bit. Before, I didn't like the idea of Julius Randle on this Timberwolves team, but now I think I'm coming around to the idea of it. Also, being able to get Dante DiVincenzo in the deal was undoubtedly a win for Minnesota, and when you look at just how expensive this team was versus now, was this actually a good move by the Wolves? The payroll for this Minnesota Timberwolves team going into the next couple of seasons was going to be enormous. If they had kept the core of Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, Jaden McDaniels, and Rudy Gobert, the T-Wolves would have been paying $158 million to just 4 players. The new CBA basically forced Minnesota to make this deal. If they had kept the core together, they would have gone over the second apron, leading to penalties like frozen draft picks, meaning they can't trade them, and they also wouldn't have been able to send out more money in trades, which would have made this deal in particular impossible. Now bringing in Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, who are both on team-friendly contracts, with Randle only making $28 million this season compared to the $49 million they would have paid Cat. Dante's contract might even be better, as he's still going to be under contract for 3 more seasons, only making about $11 million each year. So now that we understand why the Wolves franchise had to make this move, is it actually a smart one when we eliminate all of the money factors? Let's find out. First, let's get to the Julius Randle part of this deal. I've seen many people online concerned about Minnesota's floor spacing now that they have Randle and Gobert in the front court. However, after doing some digging, this might actually not be as big of a concern as people think it will be. First of all, the Knicks have ran lineups with Randle and Mitchell Robinson for years now, and have actually had offensive success. I think we all forgot that Julius Randle has been alongside non-shooting bigs for years now, and when we really look at it, Robinson's actually a worse offensive player than Rudy, if that's even possible. If we look at the last full season Randle and Robinson played together, which was back in the 2023 season, they had a positive net rating of 7.1 points, but most importantly, they had an offensive rating of 121 points per game, which would have seen them as a top 2 offense in the league. Then if we look at their limited playing time together last season, they would have still had a solid offensive rating of 117 points, which would have actually been better than the Timberwolves offense, which sat at 115 points per game last season. For those reasons, I am liking this trade a little bit more than I did when it was first announced, as Rudy Gobert is just a better version of Mitchell Robinson in every facet. Gobert is a lob threat and plays much better defense than Robinson, along with still being a great rebounder. So right out of the gate, Julius Randle could find comfort in having a player of a similar caliber next to him. But where this trade starts to get a little murky for the Wolves and Julius Randle is when you look at Randle's 3-point percentage and his recent postseason play. Starting off with the 3-ball, Randle was only able to connect on 31% from downtown last season, which is well below league average. However, back in the 2021 season with New York, he was able to shoot 41% from deep on 5.5 attempts per game, which is a pretty solid average. If Randle can even get this number up to 38%, this will be huge for Minnesota's floor spacing, as when you look at McDaniels, who's not a good 3-point shooter, and of course Rudy, who's a non-3-point shooter, the Wolves will require Randle to be an effective 3-point shooter next season. But where the issues really start to arise for Julius Randle's fit with the Wolves is when you look at his postseason play. Over his time in the NBA, Julius Randle is yet to have a standout performance in the postseason. Over the 2 times he did make the playoffs, which was with the Knicks in 2021 and back with the Knicks in 2023, Randle only averaged 17 points per game on a terrible 34% shooting, which is of course well down from his regular season numbers in both seasons. Sure, Karl Anthony Towns isn't exactly a postseason riser either. However, he had 2 strong performances against the reigning champions in last season's playoffs, where in Game 2 he scored 28 points on 66% shooting in a win, and in the Game 7 he put up 23 points on 57% shooting, helping Minnesota to the series win. And not only that, Cat's defense on Nikola Jokic was a huge reason why the Timberwolves were able to advance to the Western Conference Finals. Julius Randle is yet to even have one good postseason series, as if the Wolves are going to have any chance in the playoffs, Julius Randle would need to find a formula to succeed in the playoffs. Then if we move on to the Dante DiVincenzo part of this deal, things are looking potentially even better. In last season's playoffs, DiVincenzo was huge for the Knicks, averaging 17.8 points per game while hitting 42% of his threes. And unlike Julius Randle, DiVincenzo had standout playoff performances, including a 35-point game against the Pacers and a 39-point showing in Game 7. Then when you look at how he fits in with this Wolves team, he actually is going to provide a position of need. With Conley getting older and the rookie guard Rob Dillingham only being 17 years of age, Dante DiVincenzo should be able to see some quality minutes. One option Minnesota could explore is shifting Anthony Edwards to point guard, allowing DiVincenzo to start alongside of him at the shooting guard. Anthony Edwards showed flashes of running an offense in the postseason, either by getting to his spots to score or distributing the ball, as he put up 6.5 assists per game. Minnesota's most used starting lineup last season had Conley at the 1, Edwards at the 2, McDaniels at the 3, Towns at the 4, and Rudy at center. If Anthony Edwards gets the nod to become the team's new starting point guard, it would look like this. Anthony Edwards at the 1, Dante DiVincenzo at the 2, McDaniels at the 3, Julius Randle at the 4, and Rudy Gobert at the 5. Not only does DiVincenzo give you better shooting than Conley, but the Wolves could potentially have a better defensive lineup also. But the likely option is that Conley is going to remain the starting point guard, with DiVincenzo coming off the bench, which wouldn't be a bad option either. The pros to this decision are that they keep Anthony Edwards at the shooting guard position, which he's played at for his entire career, while having Dante's 3-and-D skill set off the bench. However, after the news of the trade surfaced, a report revealed that DiVincenzo wasn't exactly happy about the idea of him coming off the bench next season with the Knicks, especially after having a career year. The article from the Sporting News reads as follows. After a career year with the New York Knicks last year, Dante DiVincenzo was seemingly not thrilled with the role reduction. With the addition of Mikal Bridges, DiVincenzo was likely set to come off the bench this season. While DiVincenzo would have still had a major role in the rotation, he likely would have seen a drastic drop from the 37.5 minutes per game he averaged after the All-Star break last season. According to SNY's Ian Begley, DiVincenzo was not happy about the reduced role. Begley would go on to say this: "I can confidently say that DiVincenzo didn't exactly love the idea of playing fewer minutes in a reduced role this season. He was coming off a career year and helped the team win a ton of games when they were short-handed. With this in mind, the Wolves might have more incentive to test out that starting lineup with And at the 1 and DiVincenzo at the 2 at some point throughout next season. Some might look at this report about DiVincenzo and not be happy about it. However, this is just the business of the NBA at the end of the day, as he's yet to have his big payday, and it wasn't clear if he was going to get that payday with the Knicks, even if he played really well. He still might not get that with the Timberwolves either, but the idea for Dante is that this tenure with the Wolves is going to be a showcase for other teams. Overall, I'm not looking at this as a concern for Minnesota, as all it's going to do for DiVincenzo's play on the court is give him extra motivation on any given night, which can only be a good thing. Overall, I think this trade brings the floor up for this Minnesota Timberwolves team, meaning they should be a lock for the postseason now, but I also think this move lowered the ceiling of the team, as now I'm not sure if the Minnesota Timberwolves are true title contenders. To find this out, we're going to need to see the team in action through a 10 to 20 game span in the regular season fully healthy. Do you think this trade was an ultimate loss for Minnesota, or do you think that the front office made the right decision? Let me know in the comments below.